Hello, welcome to a new video. Today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be installing a soft top on my 1992 Ford Bronco. It's the Eddie Bauer edition. It's got the 351 Windsor in it, for those of you that care. Some of you might not. But yeah, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take the hard top off and I'm going to be installing a soft top from Softopper. I think they're out of Colorado, and I'm just going to kind of walk through the steps because I don't think there's a lot of videos that show the whole process. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes. I'm sure there's going to be some edits, a lot of wasted time, but maybe you watching this video, you'll be able to look at it and say, hey, this idiot did that wrong. I'm going to do this instead and save myself 2 or 3 hours. I just got done getting the rear window down because the motor died on me recently, so we just spent a good amount of time swearing at that, so I'm already in a positive mood for the day. Alright, let's get right to it. We're going to start by taking the the hard top off. This is a 92, so this is after they started making it a little bit more difficult to take the tops off, but the previous owner had already gone through and done it, so it's real easy for me. You need, I believe, the 40mm Torx security screw head. I'll zoom in on that when I get there, just so you know what you need to get, and I'll get right to it. So one part that's already been completed, this is just the way I have my Bronco set up. I don't have the plastic shroud that goes along the hardtop installed anymore. I just don't keep it on there, but mine was held down with these little screws, so all I needed was a screwdriver to get these plastic shrouds off. They're sitting over here on the ground. I usually just keep them in the trunk for now, so that's something you're not going to see in this video, but you should just need a screwdriver for that. So start by taking the plastic shrouds that go along the edges off, and the next part is we're going to take the bolts out. So for my Bronco, and I think most of them, they have these, is it hex 8? I don't know how many points, 6 security bits. So you're going to need a special bit. I forgot where I got mine. I might have gotten this in a pack at Home Depot. But as you can see, these are the only ones that are going to go in there. So I'm going to go get my socket wrench, and then we're going to remove all these bolts going around the exterior. Some of mine are already removed because the previous owner had lost them or broken them, so let's just go through and remove those. Now, because of the curvature of the window, you might need an extension for the socket set because it won't really get in there, depending on your tools. So I've got my extension here. I might have to go one longer, so I'm just going to start by removing these, and I've done my hardtop recently, so these are nice and loose, so shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah, these are coming right out. So yours, if you're doing this for the first time, probably will not be this easy, and I'm sure I'll get some hard ones while I'm in here. So depending on your level of skill, that takes around 15 minutes. Depending on the tools you have, it could go quicker, it could take longer. Try not to be frustrated going into it. So the next thing you're want to do is you're going to want to disconnect the power to your overhead light. Mine was already out like this, but I believe it will be up underneath this shroud if no one's monkeyed around with it before. The previous owner was fortunate enough and smart enough to leave it out for me, so thank you for that. But these two come off, and then I believe this panel you can get up in there and get in there. So not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is stock. One more thing you have to remove before you can take the top off, if you have the same, if you have a 92, is the seat belts for the rear bench attached directly to the hard top. So I'm not 100% sure on the size of this. I did it a while ago and I don't have the piece with me right now, but it is definitely larger than the ones you'll use on these. It might be a 50 and I think these are a 40. So you're gonna need the proper size for this. Hopefully I can check later, but you're just gonna undo it on this side. It just screws right out, and then do it on the other side. That'll screw right out. And then your seat belts will be detached. So now that you have removed all of the bolts that attach the hard top to the frame, you've removed the power connector that powers the dome light and blinkers, and you've removed the seatbelt connections, your hardtop is no longer attached to the body of your Bronco. So you can either get a second person to make this a lot easier, and you guys can just kind of get it off the back and carry it back towards the camera, get it off, set the hardtop down somewhere, or you can do it yourself. Doing it yourself is very difficult, but it is possible. It requires space, probably a good amount of strength. I've done it one time before. It was not fun. I damaged the back of my top doing it, and I'm sure there's a better way you could do it. I'm gonna get a second person today. But one thing you can do to get started is you can jimmy the top back on your own. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna crouch and stand and just basically squat and inch the top back a little ways, so we'll be able to get our fingers underneath the top. So I'll do that now. So, and I would do this turned to the other way, but I really don't want to put my ass on camera like that. Actually, so, and one thing to note too, and I had forgotten about this, is on the hardtop there are two pins that are fastened to the hardtop that go down. So if you push up, you need on the first push to go back at least almost a foot, otherwise they're gonna drag on the frame in the body. So I'll point the camera to kind of show those once I move it back. Okay, so I couldn't do a turnaround. I had to turn my ass to the camera. It's a bit of a balancing act. You gotta find the center. But basically, depending on your strength, you can just kind of stand up and kind of balance it and wobble it back. so you can get those screws off your frame. You could probably hear it, but I did end up actually running it on there, so I'll just have to check those out, make sure I didn't do too much damage. But like I said, or you could just get a second person and make it a lot easier. If you were doing one, basically you would slowly waddle your way backwards. It might be a better idea to do this with the tailgate up so you don't accidentally do any damage or the tailgate's getting in the way. But that's up to you. So anyways, if you were doing this alone, you could either fasten up some type of lift, or you kind of keep inching it backwards, and then eventually you would be on the ground and it would kind of teeter-totter on the edge. That's where it gets a bit difficult. Once it wants to fall back, basically you slowly pull it until this part touches the ground. It'll be laying up, but then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have stuff on the ground to protect your hardtop from getting scratched. And once those hit the ground, you're going to go to one side and you're going to kind of rotate the hardtop backwards, and you're going to use the weight of the hardtop on that one corner still touching the ground to kind of rotate it out of the way, and then you should be able to just lay it down on the ground. What you do with it from there is up to you. Alright, so we've got our hardtop removed, so now we're going to get on to part 2 of the video where we are going to be installing the Softopper. This is the box that it came in from Softopper. I ordered this quite a couple months ago, but then vehicle was in storage, and then I had some mechanical issues when I got it out of storage. So the box has been sitting around for a while. But this is what it came in, and I'm going to open it up and see what's inside, and I'm going to be using the instruction video on their website to kind of get an idea of what I'm supposed to be doing, but I believe it's for the back of a pickup truck, not necessarily a Bronco like this. So that's why we're here making this video. Okay, so it is actually 2 boxes taped together, and in one box we have the canvas, and one box we have the frames and railings that they'll be attached to. And so I'm going to go ahead and get these open. Canvas. And not sure how visible that is, but that's what comes inside that first box. So, the first thing that I always do anytime I get something new, it comes with an installation manual. So I am going to read this thing forward to back before I start anything. So I'm going to take a couple minutes and do that. Side note, it's a good thing I read the instructions manual, because as I was starting to go through the things, I noticed that since it's the hardware that came with the truck, that it'll attach it to the rail here. My clips are missing, so I had to then go and buy some replacement clips, and I got these from Advanced Auto Parts, and that's backwards. Fuck. So I got these from Advanced Auto Parts. It's 2 different sizes. One of the sizes fits, so I have to get 2 packages because I'm going to need 3 of them. And that M6 fits with the bolts that came in the Softopper packaging. Okay, so read my instructions manual, went through. It's a good thing I did, because I would not have had those clips when push came to shove, but quick trip to AutoZone and we got them. And now the first thing we're going to do is take and find the driver and passenger side header bars, which are these two guys right here, they come pretty well packaged and squished together. So that's one good thing about these. All this is nicely packaged together. And this is going to be the center side. It's got these two holes on each of them, so those are going to butt up next to each other. And yeah, I'll probably pull the camera around so it's a little easier to see. Nah, whatever. So, and then it says locate medium-sized bag of hardware within the bag. So this is our bag here, containing the 5 header bar brackets and 11 bolts. Also locate the bag of small flathead screws and nuts and a wrench. So now we're going to mount one of the larger brackets to the center 2 holes of each header piece, joining the header bar pieces. So what that means is we're going to be joining the header like this and using one of the brackets to kind of hold it together. So we just want to make sure that we attach it the right way. So with the clamps on the top side like this, according to these directions, the picture I'm looking at, it's going to go like this. Okay, so technically 2. Step 1 is to remove the hard top. So step 2 is locate the driver and passenger side header bar pieces. That is these 2 pieces. And next we're going to locate a medium-sized bag of hardware within the large bag containing the 5 header bar brackets and 11 bolts. That's what this is. Here's our bolts. This is our large header. And then locate a small bag of flathead screws, nuts, and it says I'm going to need a wrench. I think it's supposed to come with the screwdriver maybe, but it doesn't. Oh well. So now step 5, the first actual installation step, it says mount one of the larger brackets to the center 2 holes of each header bar piece, joining the header bar pieces together as one. So looking at their picture here, it says you want to mount the bracket underneath, facing down, and positioned opposite the snaps on the bar as shown. So our snaps are on this side. So we're going to go underneath, facing down, on the opposite side, like this, when we install it. So I think I'm supposed to put these washers on here, but I'm going to find out the hard way if I'm not. Alright, let's straighten these out a little more. Alright, so then we're going to put the next 2 big brackets on the corresponding larger holes, like this. Just do the same thing we did in the middle.
it the right way, right? Far side of the snaps, far side of the snaps, facing down. Okay. Tighten these up. All right. So the next step is installing the smaller brackets on the end of each bar. So that's going to be down here. So we got these much smaller ones. Like I said, it goes the same way. Opposite sides of the clips. Through. On there. I'll make sure we get these nice and tight because there's no going back. Now, somehow, I managed to drop one of my nuts. So I'm going to have to look for that in a second. But you get the gist of putting these two smaller ones on. Okay, so now we have all of those clips on. We've got our center one here, one of the big ones on the side here, and then the smaller one on the end. And those just go across like that. So we are going to move on to the next step, which is putting the weather stripping on the back of the vehicle. First thing we're going to do though is we're going to clean off on the Bronco where the hard top used to attach to the body of the Bronco because it is pretty dirty. So, I mean, you can see here just how nasty that is. So weather stripping is never going to attach to that. So we're going to have to go through and clean all that off. Okay, so our next step is we are going to install the weather stripping now that we've cleaned off our truck, we're going to install the weather stripping up and around the top, and it says to leave about 2 inches of overhang on each side. Wheel. Hopefully it's not too far down. I don't think it should be. Then, I believe I just cut it. Alright, so the next step is now going to be to mount these bad boys on here, starting with the one in the center. First, I'm going to take my tape off. Alright, so tape's off. Now, this is how we're supposed to get it on here. From my understanding. So, if I get these good and attached, they should be nice and snug when we go to install. Alright, so I'm going to use the original hardware for this, but I am going to be borrowing one of the washers that they included. I'm not gonna go crazy tight on that quite yet, but it's in there nicely. And this one over here might have to monkey with the stripping a little bit, just because it's down a little farther than it should be. But as I adjust, it should fix itself. Okay, so that's the top run. And so what we're going to do now is we bend the sides down and attach those. So somehow I didn't hit record, but what I did, this was sticking straight out. You bend it down until this lines up with the hole you want, and then this will actually take the shape pretty much on its own. I had to get my screwdriver in here and stuff the weather stripping so it actually went back under the bar because it does want to squish it down. But it bends quite easy. And I just got that in there, and once I tightened it down, everything's good to go now. So I'm going to do the other side though, so you'll at least be able to see it on that side. But as you can see, when it comes down, it lines up pretty good with that. So So there's the top bar. That's installed now. So the next step is to apply this bulb seal on the header bar that we just installed. And it's got the sticky tape side, and there's a little flange that's going to point forward facing that way when we install it. So I'm just going to lay it out to get a general idea, make sure it actually goes the full length of the header bar. Looks like they do. It does come with a little extra, so I'll overhang it a bit. Go past the snaps. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna line the sticky side right up with the edge of the top rail. All right, so peel the tape off. Do a little bit at a time. We'll start just past the end of the rail here. We'll maybe even leave a couple extra inches. And we'll get it right up on the edge, the back edge of our top rail. So I'm lining the edge of the tape right up with the edge of the rail. As you go, you definitely want to make sure you're smoothing it out and making sure it's getting stuck on there. I've noticed a couple pockets that maybe didn't stick when I went through. I had to go back and adjust. So I'm just going to go back through, kind of need every bit of the length to make sure there's no spots that didn't stick. There. Inflation. So we're going to start with the driver's side, passenger side bed rails. All right, here we are. Driver's side. Driver's side front. Driver's side rear. Okay, it says peel off the white paper at the bottom of the bed rails. It says it's non-adhesive. Which it is not. So peel off the white paper. Done. Next it says to find the black rail attachments, which are laying around here somewhere in this clutter. Here they are. Locate the bag containing 2 plastic rear bar retainers and hardware. The plastic bars are marked A and B. A is the driver's side piece and B is the passenger side. The returning slot should face inward and the ring should face inward and the ring should be up as shown. Okay. So here we are. So I need A. The one marked A. This is B, so that makes this A. B back in there. Do my screw, please. This is a wimpy screw. Give me a big screw. Here's a big screw. Alright. Alright, so driver's side, front. And then it says that the retainer slot should face inward and the ring should be up as shown. So, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's going to be like that. You can see this ring is upwards, this is outwards, and then the button slots or whatever they are on the outside. Alright, so I'm installing my plastic pieces on the end here. I'm just going to do them kind of lightly for now in case I do need to move them later. And so, there it is. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. This is the passenger side. It doesn't have a sticker on it, but since the driver's side does, it makes it pretty self-explanatory. Also, there's no holes to even try to put these clamps in on the other side. So these are like this, and this is going to be on the other side facing inward. We're going to take the B side and install it just like the other side. And there's 2 extra screws that'll be in the bag with these, and it mentions saving them for later in the installation process. Okay, so there are our rear retainer bars, or rear retainers, installed. Now, place the bed rails atop the vehicle side rails, such as the frontmost bracket lines up with the frontmost hole on the side rail. Ensure you have the correct bed rail. The black plastic rear bar retainer will be at the rear. The snaps will be outward and the brackets will be inward and down. Using the remaining 6 bolts and washers, or if you have your original hardware, mount the bed rails to the side rail through the 3 brackets as shown. If the bed rail is rolling in, bolster the brackets up using some of the provided extra washers underneath the brackets. Probably clean this off a little better, but the driver's side, it's just going to install like so. Alright, so I am gonna have to use some of the washers to keep the bed rail from rolling. I'm gonna use the original bolts that came with the truck on this side. Just because these had the original clips in them still. I did have to buy new clips that I'm gonna put in on the other side, so I'll be using the new bolts for those. Yeah, put one on each side. And then I'm gonna reuse the bolts I had. Okay, that one was a lot easier than the other ones. Okay, so for this rail, because we've lost all the clips on this side. 1, 2, and well, the back one we still have. I'm going to be using the ones that came with the Softopper kit to secure these down. And I went and bought the U-type bolts from AutoZone. I think the M8 ones are the ones I'm using, or the M6 ones. I'm using the bigger one. I'm not sure which goes, but I bought this clip, and that's what I'm going to use to stick down in there in order to attach those new bolts. So these are a size 13 socket. These nuts that came with the kit. Wow. I am surprised how well those worked. Now, unfortunately, this last one, that's in there. And here's the problem. I used all of the screws for the side rails, because I used the 3 short ones up here that were on this side, because the long ones would not fit anymore due to the fact that it wasn't accounting for the space of the hard top. So that's a bit of a mistake on my part. So I need to find something that I can use for this last attachment. Of course, it's always the last one. All right, so our next step is the folding frame assembly installation, and the first part, we're gonna locate the rear crossbar, and it says right on the directions, it's the ones with the snaps, so that's gonna be this one right here. Pull that one out. And it's nice, it comes packaged with the other crossbar. And so it says, slip the small loops of the end tensioning straps onto the rear crossbar such that the tension buckle, which is this, will be oriented downward when attached to the forward crossbar as shown. So basically, on the end of these, there's a loop, and I'm going to slide this on here so that that buckle is going to be facing downward when it's attached. It doesn't say how far in to put it, but no way. No, I got it. Alright, yeah. Somehow I've managed to make that confusing. Alright, so both of those, so if it's up like this, so if it's up like this, the clips are on the bottom. So next step, we're going to be joining our frame uprights with the crossbar. So here's our frame uprights. They are also packaged nicely. Sure we don't want that. Alright. Now apparently these are color coded. Join the two crossbars to the two folding frame uprights by coordinating colored dots provided on the pieces. Ensure the push pins are locked into their holes. Okay, so we got our folding arms, and they're supposed to be color coordinated. There's some dots on this one that I could find. There's no dots on the other one, but in the process of elimination, just find the one with the dots on it. And so this one's got red dot. This one's got a black dot, so that means these go here. Yikes. These go here. Oh. These are factory done like holes, so watch your fingers. I guess when you do this, you don't want to pinch them in there. Might not feel too great. So I just did that connection real quick. So do this one. Alright. So there's that top piece. We got these guys going out. Okay, join the two crossbars to the two folding frame uprights colored. That's what I just did. Now, once connected, slide the two black bar sleeves on the forward crossbar down to meet the folding frame. So the next step is to remove these rings from here. I'm just going to spin this around, and then I'll be able to pull the pin out. Make sure you get your sleeve on. One side. Second side. Make a little finagling to get it to go through all the way. There it goes. Put our safety rings back on. So one step that is not very clear is that you need to put this loop on the second bar. So it tells you to attach this one, but it's not real clear that you need to then slide the other half onto here on the underside. And you want to make sure you keep this so it doesn't bend or twist when you install that. And then you want to slide these down because they'll scratch the window, I guess, and damage it if you don't. So there's those. And then my phone died, but I started snapping this up on the underside. So snap them from left to right is what I did, and it actually worked out pretty good. What I did is I left my fabric out in the sun all day, so it's much more workable.
So now with the rear bar buttoned up, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fold the whole assembly forward towards the back of your cab. And what you're going to be doing now is you're going to be buttoning the part of the tarp that goes around the back side of the cab. And when you do this, you're going to want to make sure that you are buttoning it so when you pull the whole assembly back, the top of the tarp is going to be topside, because there is a way that you could accidentally do this to where you somehow install it underneath the bar and the system wouldn't fold back. So you're going to want to make sure that those buttons come around kind of where my body is and then up and over to the cab. Now, when you're doing these top buttons, there's these larger straps that are kind of there, I think, to be able to pull on the material. Make sure that those are not up and through to the roof while you're buttoning everything up, because then you'll have to go back through and unbutton them all and put them into the cab. Okay, so with the back buttons on and now the buttons above the cab on, what we're going to do is we're going to pull that metal frame backwards slowly and kind of hold the weight of the tarp up on our own. And as we pull the bar back, the second support bar will rotate up, and that will then support the rest of the tarp as we kind of pull things backwards. And then just briefly attach those straps to each side of the back of the frame. And for the next step, just start pulling the side parts of the tarp down on the left, right, and back, and it's really going to start to kind of take shape. Then I'm just going to go down the left and right side, buttoning up the tarp.
Okay, so now that we have our soft top kind of on and attached, there's still some adjustments, like stuff we're gonna have to make. You know, there's some wrinkles in here that we're gonna have to work on, but we'll get to those. Otherwise, it's looking pretty good, but we'll get in there and work on those later. But next step is going to be to attach the rear rail. So we got our two small pieces, our two 12-inch pieces, and then our two screws from before that we were saving. So we got our two 12-inch bars and the remaining screws. Insert the two shorter bars into the ends of the longer bar with the plastic end caps facing out. So this is our longer bar. These are our two shorties. We'll have our longer side facing out. Stand at the rear of the vehicle and push the two ends of the bar assembly into the rear plastic bar retainers while adjusting the length of the bar assembly as necessary. It should fit securely end to end into the given space within the plastic bar retainers. So basically, we've got a long bar back here and we want it to go into these end pieces. Snap it in on this side. Snap it in on this side, and then we're going to center this. I'll get a ruler real quick, and we want to make sure it's centered on both sides. More. So it's 7 3/8 on that side. That's 7 just under 3/8. That's pretty much center. We're gonna call it center. So now we're gonna take those self-drilling screws and we're gonna screw them into these little holes on here. That's gonna get, these are really small screws and I don't have a drill bit that really fits them well. So this is kind of my fault that it's being difficult. Pull the bar up. We put it into the sewn in sleeve that's supposed to be on here.
All right, so you are currently seeing me realize that this top does not have the sleeve for this metal rod that it's supposed to. I reviewed the product with a 4 out of 5 stars, giving this as the reason, and Softopper actually reached out to me and offered to remedy the situation. I just haven't had time to take them up on their offer yet, but they did reach out and offer to fix the problem for me. However, it's not been an issue for me. Just the way I drive, and I actually store this in the winter, so there's not a big issue with that being open.
So this is what the final product looks like. Despite the fact that I don't have the rear bar, I don't think it's a big issue because I don't plan on needing it very often. So yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if the top matched the bottom trim. I don't think they had the color that would do that, but I'd say it doesn't look half bad. There's some adjustments I still need to do as far as the fittings, tightening them up to 100%. But overall, I'm pretty happy. Yeah, there's a couple wrinkles up top that'll get taken care of, but no real big ones. Their instructions, if you follow them, are pretty clear. I know I kind of lost video focus for a while just because I was focusing on them, but it's more of a, you kind of read it and you play through. And yeah, that's how she looks. So anyways, hopefully some people find this helpful. Really, once you get to putting the soft top on, a lot of it is just kind of playing around with what fittings are going to fit. Unfortunately, I was missing pieces on my soft top. The rear bar piece that the bar slides into was not attached to the soft top. I'll see what the company says about that, but it's not going to be a big deal because I don't plan on using it. But yeah, hopefully the voiceover on some of those parts where I left out is good enough, and enjoy.
And I suppose it would be a crime if I didn't throw a little before and after of the project. Sorry that these voiceovers sound a little goofy. I am currently finishing this video with COVID, so yeah, that's why my voice is goofed. Now, I do have another video on my channel just showing a couple of the different configurations of the soft top. If you want to check that out, I'll put it in the link above.